Now we're into one of my favorite things, which is parsing words.
Yeah, I know.
Parsing words.
And I think you caught me.
Oh, what? No.
I'm just going to go out and admit it because...
Oh. Okay. We were talking about franchise quarterbacks who went down the list. You had your judgments.
Yep.
They were just judgments, opinions, so you weren't necessarily wrong about any of them. What's on your mind?
Well, I did immediately say yes for C.J. Stroud, and that was wrong because he has not received a second contract. So he's in the Purdy category, which is guys that I believe franchises want to be their franchise quarterback, but are not yet.
So I was giving this a lot of thought during the break. What if I said something like this? Purdy's the Niners franchise quarterback right now, but he's not a franchise quarterback.
How so?
I think let's use one of the worst quarterbacks in history. I think there was a time when Jamarcus Russell was the Raiders' franchise quarterback.
Wait, what?
That they decided after they drafted him that he was going to be the franchise quarterback. It comes with getting drafted where he got drafted.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the Niners had that same plan for Trey Lance.
Right. That's what I mean.
Would you have ever called him their franchise quarterback?
I would have never.
Here's where I'm going to parse your words.
No. What I'm saying is, was Trey Lance ever the 49ers franchise quarterback? No, he was never the 49ers franchise quarterback. He was clearly drafted to be the franchise quarterback.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that's what I mean. Caleb Williams right now is the Bears' franchise quarterback.
He's drafted to be their franchise quarterback.
Okay,
but he is not yet their franchise QB.
Well, and that's not the... I don't want to get into that debate.
Okay.
Because I think he'll be their quarterback for the next couple years. And then they'll determine whether they're going to pay him. So that's kind of what I mean. I think at any given moment, yes, you can be the franchise quarterback for a team. But the next step is then to actually become a franchise quarterback. Not the Niners franchise quarterback. He'll be that. But actually a franchise quarterback, which is somebody you kind of entrust your offense to for multiple years. And if it comes with a contract, fine. But to me, it's, do you have your guy for the foreseeable future?
Well, but okay, so I think we're.
And
just,
I know we're going.
Well, I think we're splitting hairs here. Like you're saying, someone who I don't know. Like when I hear franchise quarterback, I don't think that there just is a bunch of those around. Now we went down the list, and I told you who I didn't think was one, who I did. So Kirk Cousins to me is not a franchise quarterback. Otherwise, he would still be playing for the same franchise.
So it's about tenure with the team.
Yes.
Okay. To me, it's.
If you are a franchise quarterback and I say the franchise, you should think of that person. Yes or no? When I say Jalen Hurts, what do you think of?
I think of the Eagles.
When I say the Buffalo Bills, what do you think of? Josh Allen.
4 years ago, if I say the Minnesota Vikings, what do you say?
Kirk Cousins.
So why isn't he now?
Because he's on the Falcons.
But he played how many years in Minnesota? Like how many years?
5 years.
So that's not enough. You see what I'm saying? Like
you asked me if he's currently a franchise quarterback.
He's not. Said no.
He's not.
Well, that might have something to do with Penix being drafted.
No, that has to do with him not being a Viking anymore.
So let's just say
before that a Commander.
Well, let's just say hypothetically you play 5 years for 3 teams. Like, are you never a franchise quarterback even though you were starting quarterback for 3 NFL teams?
If Kirk Cousins was the caliber of quarterback that, I don't know, it was an elite, playoff winning, dominant quarterback, I don't think he would be on a different team. At this point in his career, he's not on the team because he got injured and he was 35 or 36 years old. They wanted to move in a different direction. But Washington chose to let Kirk Cousins walk.
Right.
Why?
Because of Robert Griffin III.
Because they didn't believe he was their franchise quarterback.
Well, he also wasn't drafted to be their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, but he became one, or he could have become one.
Did you slip? Did you slip?
All right, then let's use that with Purdy. Was Purdy drafted to be their franchise quarterback?
Nope.
Yeah, he can become one.
Yeah, he can. He can. First of all, I don't necessarily think that you're right or I'm right on this particular way, because I think it's just how we're viewing a franchise quarterback. How many teams right now do you think believe that they have their quarterback who will be their quarterback in 4 years? Do you think seriously, do you think it's all 32 teams?
No.
Like who doesn't have one? Like
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The New Orleans Saints.
So, okay.
You just think about the bottom feeders. Like, I think that's why the Vikings, that's why they drafted J.J. McCarthy.
Like, there's somebody, 415, how about Derek Carr? And I kind of think...
Not anymore.
Like, it doesn't, to me, it has less to do with how great you are as opposed to how long you're somewhere.
Do the New York Jets have a franchise quarterback right now?
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, coming off an Achilles tear.
But, to me, in a way, he's the definition of a franchise quarterback because of his sheer greatness. And if he's an attitude problem and would have been traded 6 times during the course of his career, I think I'd probably still say he's a franchise quarterback. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong because you wouldn't consider him that if he played for too many teams, but it's just a matter of how you look at it.
But you asked me if I believe a quarterback will be there in 4 years. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will be quarterbacking the Jets in 4 years.
Probably not.
He's going to be 44 years old.
No, I hear you.
So that's what do the Pittsburgh Steelers have a franchise quarterback right now? I would say no. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are in different positions.
So if you don't have a franchise quarterback, what do you have? Like a stopgap?
Yeah. I think you have a starter, and then you try and figure out what your long-term plan is at quarterback afterwards. I think the Steelers thought that Kenny Pickett might be the guy for them. And then he was uncovered as not being the guy. And so they went in a different plan because they still want to compete this season. They still have a good roster. So let's go out and find a starting caliber or 2 starting caliber quarterbacks, and let's let them compete for the job. I think the Jets wanted to win now. So let's go trade for a quarterback that can help us win now, but is not expected to be our guy in 4 years. We'll figure that out later.
Well, I got one for you.
Okay.
And what about Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
He was paid to be that. Do you think he's going to finish his second contract in New York? I don't think he will.
Probably not.
So then he would, by my criteria, not be a franchise quarterback.
Can you be a franchise quarterback 1 year and not a franchise quarterback in the next year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But if you're young, you're never... But if you're on your first...
That's where I do think sample size comes into this.
And that's all I'm getting at here. I'm trying to figure out when a player goes from unknown to proven.
I would not call Brock Purdy a franchise quarterback yet.
I completely agree with you on that. I think the difference is that you and I are seeing is you think there's a level of greatness to a franchise quarterback, and I look at a franchise quarterback as, did the dude start for like 5 years in a row for a team, even if he wasn't very good? Well, then he was their franchise quarterback, even though he stunk. That's all. But no, I want to get back to the original issue of asking Vernon Davis, and you wanted to throw in something else you heard him say, I think. But I asked Vernon Davis, hey, you like Brock Purdy? Yeah, I like Brock Purdy. But, he's still got a lot to prove, and the bottom line is he said there's not enough data on him right now. I mean, in a way, think about this. Think about how great of a position the 49ers are in. And this is where I think maybe we don't think enough about Kyle Shanahan. He drafted Trey Lance to be a franchise quarterback, and Trey Lance never materialized. So he drafted a guy to be a franchise quarterback that he never saw or saw in college or saw in a workout. They now get to decide whether Brock Purdy can be their franchise quarterback, and they have the luxury of seeing him play for 2.5 years because they didn't draft him in the first round. Like, to me, that's an incredibly advantageous position to be in if you're the Niners. And that, to me, is the reason why I say it's all about this year for Brock Purdy. If he's good, then he's going to get paid. He's their franchise quarterback. And a franchise quarterback, if he's great, should elevate your team's play while he's playing quarterback. You know what I mean?
I don't see how he doesn't get paid.
Well, he's going to get paid. It's probably just going to be a matter of how much. I mean, listen, I can't envision a scenario where Brock Purdy's healthy this year and he doesn't get a contract extension. I mean, I can't if he's healthy, how's he not going to get a contract extension unless what we've seen for the first year and a half is a mirage, which I don't believe it is.
Look, this is a Doctor Strange one case scenario. The only way that we'll find out is if that it doesn't happen is if 2020 plays itself out again. Remember what happened that year?
An injury?
Yeah, to the quarterback.
Right.
And then that draft, they took Trey Lance because they told on themselves how they felt about Jimmy Garoppolo.
True.
If that same scenario plays out this season, I still think they pay Brock Purdy.
One more time, please.
All right. So the 49ers,
yep,
coming off of 2019, they made the Super Bowl, they lost to the Chiefs, right?
Yep.
2020, Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt.
Yep.
They end up with they trade up, but they end up with the third overall pick.
Right.
They take Trey Lance.
Yep.
They wanted to go get a quarterback. Number one, because you had a chance to, you were high enough, you felt like there was a guy that was good enough. But number two, because you didn't trust the guy, you didn't have a franchise quarterback. I don't think you draft someone like Trey Lance unless you believe that Jimmy Garoppolo's not your long-term future. If the same thing happens this season, God forbid, something happens to your quarterback, and you end up with the third overall pick,
okay,
I still think they pay Brock Purdy. And I don't think that they draft a quarterback.
That's a good way to look at it. Fair.
That's how much I think that they believe in Brock Purdy.
408, dumb take, Steiny. Oh, okay. Purdy is a franchise quarterback. You say Aaron Rodgers is, yet Purdy is more accomplished the last 2 seasons. Well, I think that's recency bias.
Well, and I just have a definition for mine. You know, you have a different set of criteria.
No, I mean, but I think we agree on 90% of it. But and the bottom line is this: if I said Brock Purdy's a franchise quarterback, I'm with you. I'd say probably pretty soon. But right now, no. And one of the reasons, there's 2 facets as it relates to Purdy that I don't take into consideration for any other quarterback. And one is he's only played 21 games. So anybody who's a rookie, you're going to want to see him do it for 2 or 3 years before you either anoint him that or you pay him that. The other part of the equation that I can't escape, and this is one of those things where I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I will not believe it until I see it, is that Kyle Shanahan believes Purdy is his franchise quarterback. I have every reason to believe Kyle Shanahan thinks that Brock Purdy is the franchise quarterback, but I believe that there were probably times when he thought that of Jimmy Garoppolo during his tenure. So I listen, I get we're parsing words here, but the one thing we agree on is not yet. Not yet.
Yes, I don't think so yet. My point is only I don't want to throw that term around loosely, because if I go Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson. If I go down the list, but it sounds like by your definition, there's like 20 franchise quarterbacks, and I just don't believe that there's that many in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think, I think you're probably right. That is the way I think of it. And it's
like 2/3 of the guys in the league, or 80% of the quarterbacks under center, to me, cannot be franchise quarterbacks. That's just how I see it.
Who's the go down the middle of that list? Oh, okay. Like, let's go to Prescott.
Yeah.
I know he's been the starting quarterback for the Cowboys forever, but, and I'll say it,
he has been the Cowboys franchise quarterback.
No doubt. But he's had no success. Like if you're, all I'm saying is, if you're guru and you think that Dak Prescott isn't very good, he might say he's not a franchise quarterback. That's the point, is he's not good enough to be a franchise quarterback, even though...
Anymore. Because he did pay him. So the reason why he might let Dak Prescott walk in free agency next year is because he doesn't feel like he's the Cowboys franchise quarterback anymore.
Okay.
And I think that's what we'll find out.
JT's in Manteca. What's going on, JT? Well, then the question becomes, at some point, should the 49ers make Brock Purdy their franchise quarterback? What's up, JT?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Great conversation.
Oh, thank you.
I agree about 90% on, both of what you guys are saying. I think where someone might not or stop becoming the franchise quarterback room is open to more than friendly competition. When a guy
JT, call back. You broke up. You're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit. So let's go to Bobby. Bobby's in Los Altos. Hey, Bobby, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
Actually, the last time I think I was on with Gideon, she gave me the quick hook and cut me after 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I remember that.
let me stay on a little longer. 2 points. Number one, real quickly, as relates to Brock Purdy, of course, he's a franchise quarterback. If you guys think something is better is coming along, that's fine. But he's somebody's franchise quarterback, and I hope he's the Niners. I knew after 5 throws, because Herbert was on national television on his first start, I knew he was a franchise quarterback. We knew Burrow was a franchise quarterback after 1 or 2 games, and the same thing for Stroud, about half season, maybe a quarter season in. So to say that Brock Purdy isn't a franchise quarterback is comical to me. But here's the reason I called. I feel like my takes are fairly reasonable, but lately I feel like I'm always screaming at the radio because I don't really understand. I listened to the opening monologue you guys had, and unfortunately I had to step away from the radio. But if in fact the reason we're having this, first team fielding, more than half the game or whatever it is for this preseason game is he doesn't feel the team is ready, I find that a comical reason because he's not even fielding the best team he could have. I don't really know if anyone's done. I'm sure they have. Some analytics on what is the actual value of a win in the NFL season, but I guarantee you that it's got to be more than whatever little incremental money Trent Williams is talking about and whatever Brandon Ayuk wants for guaranteed money. So I don't really understand the math. I mean, I get it, trying to save money for Brock Purdy, but again, I don't know why we keep looking 2 years out when we need to focus on this year. So if Shanahan feels like his team isn't ready, then why don't you at least put the best team on the field? And all he's done now, front office I'm talking, is created a situation where Ayuk and Trent Williams are going to get hurt, or they're going to be really bad the first 4 games of the season. So what was the point of doing this? Like, what did you really save? I don't think it's worth it. That's my opinion. And then if it's really just, hey, I want to see how this team really looks, how bad we might look without these 2 players, and if we look terrible, then we're going to have to pay. I feel like that's a really poor strategy. But I don't know, fellas. I must just not really understand.
So real quick, Bobby, I'd love for him to answer this. So what you're saying is because Ayuk and Trent Williams aren't there and aren't ready, you wouldn't put these guys out on the field for that game tomorrow night?
Hello?
Yeah. Did you hear me?
That I wouldn't put. You're saying I wouldn't start the starters for
if you're
game
saying
3?
If you're saying one of the reasons they're not ready is because Ayuk and Trent aren't there, can I assume that you wouldn't be playing the starters like Kyle's planning to tomorrow?
If the reason is that, like you guys said in the opening monologue, this team isn't ready. It needs some real reps before they start on game 1. Then I think it's comical because you're not even putting the best team out there.
Okay.
If the reason is I got to see how this team does without my 2 stars to see how desperate I need to be in terms of resolving these contract issues, completely plausible reason. But if it's, hey, I got to get my team ready, I think it's ridiculous for putting team, B+ out there when for a couple $1 million more, we could have team A out there. And all you're doing is risking injury to your 2-star players because they're not going to be ready the first 4 games of the season.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Don't yell, Bobby. Bobby, I cannot. Let me tell you something about Bobby.
Sorry, I didn't want to talk. I didn't want him to feel like I cut him off.
Let me tell you something about Bobby. It's hard for me to imagine him yelling because he's always very.
I don't think I've ever heard him yell.
Very reasonable.
Maybe by his own
his
own standards, he feels like he was yelling because he had to raise his voice.
Well, if he had to raise his voice, we found out why.
It was
because of you.
What?
You cut him off.
When?
Last time he called.
Check the tape.
Last time he called, you stuck it to him.
You do know how difficult it is to run that board.
I absolutely
right?
have no idea.
I know you don't. That's why I asked the question. So
why did you ask a question when you knew I didn't know how to run the board?
I was doing my Steiny impression.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're behind the board, and oftentimes it's difficult to tell when someone's done. Bobby also may have called as of right now, Steiny.
Yeah.
Right before a break.
No. I wouldn't put him through there.
You do that all the time.
No.
In fact, I think you were about to go to a call before I highlighted the fact that we're at 26 and we got to get out in a minute.
So you're saying I shouldn't talk to Mar right now in San Francisco?
Unless you want Carter to cut her off or him.
Mar, I'm going to take your call on the other side because, yay!
No, please feel free to call back.
God
Bobby.
forbid
Bobby,
we
we
go
love you.
past 27.
I swear I love you, Bobby.
That'll break the system.